Kris Kristofferson passed away. And as I was digging into information about him, I'm like, he has done what a smart man. What a smart man he was. And 88 years old. They didn't say what his cause of death was, but you just got to go, man. He clearly lived hopefully a nice, long and healthy life. Throughout his 88 years, hopefully most of it was good, and hopefully he wasn't suffering for a long period of time. But we'll talk a little bit about Kris. He was a country singer. He was a Rhodes Scholar, which I thought was very, very interesting, something you wouldn't think of him as being. And he was an award-winning actor. Again, he passed away at the age of 88. He was born in Brownsville, Texas. His father, Lars, was in the U.S. Army Air Corps. So the family didn't stay in one place for a very long period of time. Eventually, they did end up moving to and living in California. So Kris started off as a writer back in 1958. He received a Rhodes Scholarship from the University of Oxford in England. Holy moly. That's intense. Now, the Rhodes Scholarship, which is given by the University of Oxford, is the oldest graduate scholarship in the world. And if you receive one of these scholarships, it is very prestigious and you have to pass very, very strict criteria in order to receive this scholarship. I just didn't look at Kris Kristofferson that way. So you just don't know unless you're constantly researching about people. So Kris clearly had not only a very talented background, but he was also extremely intelligent. Now, Kris was trying to get his writing career to take off, but his family pushed him to join the Army. He became a helicopter pilot and also started to push for a music career. So he was doing all of these other things, and I guess in his heart, music was in his blood, in his soul, and he was trying to get that to take off. He started a band and he was loving that. So he made the decision to leave the Army, and his family didn't like that. So they basically didn't talk to him for a long period of time, but eventually they did all work things out. Kris did struggle to make the music business work out to his advantage. And there was even a story going around, and I guess it's kind of true, but he allegedly landed a helicopter in Johnny Cash's yard, property, whatever you want to call it. And supposedly he did it while he was drinking a beer. And I guess the beer part was not true, but I guess he did really fly a helicopter onto Johnny Cash's property to get his attention. He did get his attention because Johnny Cash actually recorded a song that Kris wrote called Sunday Morning Comin' Down, and Kris actually won the CMA Award for Songwriter of the Year for that song in 1970. So maybe the helicopter story, I think it was true, but I guess the beer, he wasn't drinking a beer when he flew the helicopter to Johnny Cash's property. Because I think Kris, what I read was, I think he once said that you can't fly and drink a beer at this. You can't do that. It's just not. Well, and if you do, shame on you, and that's not good. Now, in 1971, Janis Joplin went to #1 with the song Kris co-wrote with Fred Foster, Me and Bobby McGee. We all know that song. And sadly, the song hit #1 after Janis had passed. And I didn't know this, but Janis and Kris dated. Now, Kris, he did a lot, tons, music, TV appearances, and of course he was on the big screen. And I swear, it felt like Kris was everywhere in the 1970s in the movies, right? And he was especially in our faces in 1976 when he co-starred with Barbra Streisand in A Star Is Born. I mean, I can remember going to see that movie and the chemistry those two had. I don't know. I think it was better than Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. I do. I really do. I feel like they just had something special. Now, I haven't read any of the backstory about the original. Well, was that the original movie of A Star is Born, or was there one even before that? I don't know. I don't quote me on it, but I did not read the backstory about the Barbra Streisand, Kris Kristofferson one. So did they like each other? You know how that happens. Sometimes co-stars don't like each other. So I have no idea, but I can tell you those two together in that movie were incredible. Absolutely incredible. Now, Kris was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1977 and the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2004. He won a Golden Globe for Best Actor for his role in A Star is Born. He won 4 Grammys and several other awards. He was also part of the country supergroup The Highwaymen with Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson. And Kris is known as one of the greatest songwriters of our time. I didn't know that. I did not know that. Kris passed away at his home in Maui on September 28th of 2024. And he said that he would like the following lines from Leonard Cohen's Bird on the Wire to be placed on his tombstone. And they read, "Like a bird on the wire, like a drunk in a midnight choir, I have tried in my way to be free." So we say, rest in peace, Mr. Kris Kristofferson. What a long life, though. 88 years old. Like I said, just hopefully those 88 years were all good for him.